You can't eat money and you can't use money to pay a tree to provide oxygen for you. But we are systematically destroying the very thing that gives us the air we breathe and the sustenance for our bodies in exchange for money. Hi, it's Emma, and I wanted to speak to you today about a concept that helped my understanding of our current society and economy in a small but I think important way. One thing we know about evolution is that it is complex. On a surface level, you might have a bit of an understanding of evolution as a matter of survival of the fittest or very small changes happening slowly to individual genes or species. And those concepts are true, but the resulting ecosystem that is now all around us is very complex. All the parts rely on all the other parts, but it's not chaotic. It's what we call ordered complexity. The complex interconnected web of plants, animals, fungi, and bacteria have emergence. They emerged out of something simpler that came before. Our lungs can breathe, but a lung cell on its own can't. It's when all the cells of a lung come together in just the right way that a lung can take a breath. And it also needs all the cells of the surrounding muscles and tissues and brain cells to work together for that to happen as well. It's a very complex thing, a breath. So what we see is that life came into being a long time ago and very slowly became more complex. Complexity that didn't have emergence, was just random and had little or no order to it, wasn't selected for in terms of evolution. So we have this type of ordered complexity where nature is, for the most part, in an equilibrium, in harmony. There are these amazing relationships between our gut bacteria and our bodies, the air we breathe and the trees that create oxygen, the fungi and bacteria that provide plants with food, the animals that eat the plants and the animals that eat other animals. And there are these beautiful patterns that have emerged from a simple single-celled organism all the way up to humans, which you could argue are one of the more complex organisms. The natural process of energy transfer between all these organisms, the life, death and decay, the cycles of water, nitrogen, carbon, are all interconnected, and the output of one system or process is the input of another. Our industrial society is not one based on nature or on natural cycles. It actually has faster and faster been taking these complex organisms and turning them into much simpler objects, and then simpler again into money. Which leads us to the core idea of today's video, that capitalism and modern civilization more broadly is the transformation of nature into money. While evolution increases ecological diversity and interconnectedness, our economic system takes complex things like a tree and turns it into much simpler things like a piece of timber. A tree has incredible value to all beings that interact with it. It provides shade, habitat, oxygen, filters the air, moderates the temperature and humidity of the air, prevents erosion, encourages pollinators, the list goes on. But we don't look at all of those factors when we decide whether or not to cut down a tree. Usually the company or person chopping the tree down looks at one or two factors, the main one being, can I make money from this? There will be a cost-benefit analysis done, something that I learned how to do in my economics degree. The costs included the financial costs for buying or leasing the land and equipment, labour, etc. And then the benefits are the financial benefits from the products made from the trees. None of the previously mentioned benefits were taken into account. Learning this topic at uni, there was some attempt to account for some of these factors in the occasional economic subject focused on natural resources, but that was pretty rare, and it only looked at some of the benefits that themselves could be turned into money, or those that would cost the company money. For example, a factory contaminating a waterway that they would then want to filter and use again. Every other service that a tree or ecosystem provides to the larger biosphere are considered externalities, effects either positive or negative that are not taken into account by the price of a product. So when we buy a piece of timber, we don't pay for the cost to the koalas of the loss of their home, or the people who have to use more electric cooling because the forest they live near is being cut down and making things warmer. We don't pay for anything except the cost to the lumber company of chopping down the tree and turning it into lumber and transporting it to us, plus a slice of profit on top. I learned about externalities in my studies, but there was the notion that externalities are a small part of the effects of the activity taking place. The main thing was the economic cost or benefit to the person or the company doing the thing. But in reality, everything is an externality, except for money, because our economic system is geared towards optimizing making money for a small number of people. Our economic system is based on a model that doesn't take the biosphere into account at all. It literally doesn't appear in the pictures in the textbooks. It assumes that we can take what we want from nature and return whatever waste we want when we're done with it. If I see a tree in the forest, it is not of any value to me financially. But if I chop it down and turn it into lumber, I can use it to swap for money. I've turned a very complex thing, a tree, into a simple thing, a piece of lumber, into an even simpler thing, money, which is just a symbol of value. It doesn't have value beyond what a certain subset of people decided it has. The tree's complexity is important because it can regenerate. If a bushfire goes through a forest, it will grow back, slowly at first, and then more and more species come back and diversity increases again. If I build a house out of timber and the house burns down, it doesn't come back. If I abandon the house, it will slowly break apart and be taken over by complex natural processes. I've taken something that is resilient with many types of value to many types of organisms, put energy into it, and turned it into something that is not resilient with only one type of value, financial value, to one type of organism, the capitalist. While it also might be turned into a home for someone, it must continually have energy pumped into it to maintain it. A house won't maintain itself. When we take from nature and alter nature, we generally make things that are fragile and not resilient. A river will regenerate and repair itself if we leave it alone, with the help of plants growing their roots into the soil in the riverbank, or the animals leaving their droppings, providing nutrients for aquatic life. A water pipeline will not regenerate itself. We push this top-down structure onto everything we create and sell, rather than the bottom-up structure of how a forest or wetland is created and nurtured. The more we tinker with nature and the more high-tech solutions we come up to fix the problems we've created, the more energy we use and the more downstream issues we cause. When we use technology to fix one thing, it has flow-on effects to other things in the ecosystem because of that tight interconnectedness of it all. The faster we take action to fix one thing without consideration of the side effects, the faster this process of destruction occurs, and we end up with nonsense like burning plastic for energy, carbon capture and storage technology, or geoengineering. The end result of all this is that industrial civilization turned so much nature into waste and pollution and money that this interconnectedness breaks down, as it has begun to already, possibly to the point where nature can no longer sustain humans, and so humans go extinct, like the thousands of other species that have already gone extinct from our actions. We are turning nature into dollars faster and faster every year, and we are fueling this exchange by the burning of energy sources that are millions of years old, and that we soon won't have economically feasible access to. And this burning is causing many of Earth's systems to come out of this equilibrium, some of them in an irreversible way. If you want an action to take from this insight, I would recommend right now more of an inaction plan. First, do no harm. You don't have to do more. You can make more of an impact by doing less. Just step back and be. I appreciate you for watching. Be safe and well, and I'll see you next time.